Coming from someone who had never seen the original Dear Evan Hansen show on Broadway and had only heard the opening song on Spotify, I went into this movie blind. How was it? What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be giving you my review of Dear Evan Hansen, the latest movie adaptation of the famous Broadway play. Dear Evan Hansen follows a high schooler with a social anxiety disorder and his journey of self-discovery and acceptance following the suicide of a fellow classmate. So before I give you guys my thoughts on this movie, definitely hit the like button, comment your thoughts down below, and make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future reviews. I'm happy to say this movie was actually a pleasant surprise. It got panned by critics, there's a ton of awful negative reviews online, and I actually disagree with a lot of those reviews. And I just want to say right off the bat, the music was outstanding. It was chillingly good. From the opening song to the final song, I had chills down my spine, and Ben Platt has the voice of an angel. That man can sing, and honestly, I need to explore more of his work because, man, this guy's good. And he's not only just a great singer, but he was able to convey so much emotion through his vocals that it really added to his performance. And before I even move on, I have to address the elephant in the room. Yes, Ben Platt is 27 years old and he's playing a 17-year-old. This was obviously talked about on social media after the trailer released, and I myself was like, this looks a little weird, it looks a little off in my opinion, but right when I sat down and watched the movie, I totally threw all that out the window. I totally bought into him as a high schooler because I was thinking about it and I'm like, they always cast older actors to play high schoolers, so I don't know what the uproar is about. It's almost one of those classic instances of people choosing what to get mad about, because if you look at Spider-Man from 2002, Tobey Maguire was significantly older than the age he was playing, and if you look at Back to the Future, Michael J. Fox was also like 10 years older than the character he was actually playing in the movie, so it really wasn't that big of a deal. But the thing Ben Platt has going for him is that he's actually the original iteration of that character from Broadway, so it's not even that big of a deal. It probably helped out that they cast someone who's already played this character for so long and literally is the origin of Evan Hansen. If someone has made the point I'm about to make, I guess great minds just think alike, but I'm going to make a little Office comparison here. So if you guys have seen the show The Office, it's obviously got that awkward, dry humor, and there's an episode called Scott's Tots. Michael Scott is a regional manager at the Dunder Mifflin Scranton office, and he goes and he promises these kids that he's going to pay for his college tuition. However, he falls short on his promise, and when he goes to confront them, it is painfully awkward and honestly makes me cringe sometimes when I watch it. It's one of the most unwatchable episodes of The Office, not because it's bad or unfunny, just because it makes me feel so freaking uncomfortable. And I will admit that a lot of the movie Dear Evan Hansen feels extremely awkward and uncomfortable, just like that scene in the episode of Scott's Tots. And I can think of one scene in particular involving Evan, his mother, and the Murphy family that made me cringe out of just how uncomfortable I felt. And I noticed a lot of discourse online talking about how awkward and uncomfortable this movie is, and that's talked about as a negative of the movie. I actually disagree. I think that it actually works in favor of the movie, and that's kind of the point. Evan Hansen is literally a socially awkward, anxiety-ridden, and borderline depressed teenager. He's not some social butterfly. So as we follow this main character throughout the movie, obviously his social interactions are going to be awkward, and it's going to make the audience feel awkward because we're just watching him go through his life, and it obviously is going to have an awkward sense to it. I mean, this man struggles to get a simple sentence out in the morning to his mother, so inherently the movie's going to feel awkward. And because of Evan Hansen's social anxiety and social awkwardness, it's obviously going to lead him to make terrible decisions in this movie, which he does because he does it to comfort himself, almost like a safety blanket, so he doesn't have to confront the actual issues because he has massive issues with confrontation. And I know that a lot of people have complained saying it's hard to get on board with the character, but I think that this movie overall, we're supposed to just be witnessing this, and we're not supposed to be fans of Evan Hansen. He's obviously makes terrible decisions. There's characters in a ton of movies that make awful decisions. For example, Howard Ratner in Uncut Gems, or Arthur Fleck in Joker, but we still watch and enjoy those movies. Evan Hansen goes on a journey in this movie, and we're simply just observing that journey. Now, the main point of controversy I've seen online, at least when it comes to Dear Evan Hansen, the movie, is its portrayal of suicide, and this matter is no joke at all, and I don't think the movie tries to make it a joke at all or take it any less serious than it is. Early on in the movie, we see the repercussions that a character's death by suicide has on an entire community, a family, and the entire world. And the character who does commit suicide early on in the movie is struggling with their own mental demons, just like Evan Hansen is. And I think this kind of acts as a nice parallel, if you will, and Evan Hansen obviously is not going to have the guts or the confidence in himself to reveal the truth about the letter that is written early on in the movie, and the fact that his friendship might not be real with this character. So he just lets this truth that he's holding in linger, and that adds to his own mental health downfall. I just feel like the movie does a really good job of portraying this because an event of like that caliber just shocks communities and people aren't going to know how to cope with it. And Evan Hansen, who's already seen to be dealing with his own mental demons, really doesn't know how to deal with it, so he has trouble confronting the issue up front. Now, this is not a defense on Evan Hansen as a character. He's clearly makes some terrible decisions and angered me, and I'm sure most audiences that watch this movie. He damages families, communities, because he's built up on a lie. He's very selfish at times, and a lot of these untruthful actions have very negative repercussions in the community. But by the end of this journey, I still think that the overall message is very powerful. It shows that anyone can have an impact no matter how small they think their impact might be. I feel like this movie does a really good job of showing the impact that each and every person has on the lives that they touch every day from the lens of someone who feels like they're a nobody in Evan Hansen, and I just think that's a really powerful message to take home. Whew. So continuing on with the review and getting away from some of the more heavy subject material, if you know me, you know my common complaint with musicals both on stage and movies is that they tend to drag on, and Dear Evan Hansen could not escape my complaint of the movie dragging on. I will say, as great as the music was, a few songs felt out of place, and the character Alana was just not my favorite at all. She felt kind of shoehorned into more of a major role than I feel like she originally had in this Broadway production. I know I was talking to my friend and he said they definitely propelled her role, so that makes a lot of sense because when her song came on, I was like, this doesn't feel like as great or of as high caliber as the other songs, and it turns out the song was actually added to the movie, so that makes perfect sense. I don't think it was necessary at all. I also would have liked to see more of Evan and his mother's relationship because this is one of the cornerstones of the movie in my opinion, especially by the end. It has a massive emotional impact and a weight that is carried throughout the movie, and I just think a few more moments showing how powerful and strong their relationship is and how it may drift from time to time would have made for a more powerful moment in the end. And I feel like there was a perfect point to end this movie, like a perfect conclusion point, but the movie kept going on for about 10 to 15 more minutes, and I always feel bummed when a movie has the perfect opportunity to go ahead and roll the credits, but it keeps going because then it just feels like it's a little bit out of air, and I think the movie In the Heights did the same thing, which I'm still a massive fan of, but musicals tend to just overextend their stay by the end credits, and that's always just a bit of a bummer because it's such a great journey, but then by the end you kind of feel exhausted, which kind of inhibits the rewatch factor in my opinion. But again, I feel like most musicals just lose steam by the end, and that was kind of the case here. Overall, Dear Evan Hansen delivered some brilliant musical numbers that were really catchy, but it also had a pertinent message about our mental health and the struggles that we go through, and our impact on the community, even though we don't realize it sometimes. And while it is extremely awkward and uncomfortable, I feel like this acts in the movie's favor. It just adds to the reality of social awkwardness and anxiety amongst high schoolers. However, the movie did drag at times, and I feel like certain characters could have had more intimate moments together, and some characters could have been drastically eliminated from the movie and almost cut out completely. But in the end, this movie was effective in portraying mental health struggles while also satisfying my taste for a good musical. I'm gonna give Dear Evan Hansen a 3.5 out of 5. So that's gonna do it for my review of Dear Evan Hansen, the movie adaptation. Thank you all so much for watching. Definitely hit the like button, comment your thoughts down below. I feel like this is gonna be a mixed bag. I know it's gonna be more negative for most people, but if you're a fan of that original adaptation, talk about the similarities and differences. Let me know if I should find a way to watch that original, maybe on show, off Broadway somewhere. Let me know all that and more in the comments down below. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future movie reviews, rankings, all that good stuff. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.